Laura Knight's absolutely fascinating in the context of the Second World War because she, by the time the war starts, she's already a very distinguished, unusually for a woman of her time, a very distinguished and well-regarded artist. She's been made a Royal Academician, which is the first time a woman's been made a member of the RA for, I think it was 160, 200 years. And so she's already very kind of well-established, and even so, she's not given any proper salaried work as a war artist. She survives working for them commission to commission. And there's a sense that at the time, someone like Laura Knight chooses on the whole not to take those commissions that are seen as women's subjects, maybe because she thinks it demeans her status to do so. In 1940, she's commissioned to paint Corporal Daphne Pearson of the WAAF, the Women's Auxiliary Air Force, who has just been awarded the Empire Gallantry Medal, which we now know of as the George Cross. Now, she paints Daphne Pearson holding a rifle, which is incredibly contentious at the time because women in the services were not to be shown carrying arms. And in fact, for the finished portrait, the rifle is painted out, and it seems likely that that was under instruction from the War Artists Advisory Committee. There's no record of that, but it seems quite likely because this correspondence still survives between the sitter of the portrait and her mother, in which she says Laura Knight's absolutely determined that the rifle is going to be in the painting, and then the finished picture, it's been replaced with a gas mask. And there are records in the Imperial War Museum of the minutes of the WAAC meetings in which handwritten on those records is, I don't know whose handwriting it is, but it says, Laura Knight is a difficult customer and we need to soften her up. In fact, Laura Knight's fights with the War Artists Advisory Committee led to all of the artists being paid more for their portraits in the end. In 1943, I think she gets the commission of her life when it comes to the war, in that she's allowed to go to RAF Mildenhall and actually paint the bomber crews there. And she paints the most glorious painting of a bomber crew in a Stirling about to set off on a mission over Germany. And that's the most wonderful painting. And what's interesting is when you compare it with someone like Nash, who paints those abstract, they're very beautiful, but there's almost abstract patterns of bombers in the sky and the vapour trails. Laura Knight gets into the cockpit with the men, and you see every button, every lever, every piece of their uniform. It's the physical reality of the experience of the bodies in the machine that's so important to her. And there's a kind of poignant after story in which the navigator in the painting was killed the following year. In my estimation, her war work is amongst the best of her work.